Welcome, welcome, everyone. Want to make sure everyone's out of the waiting room at this point. Thanks so much for your patience. We're so excited to get the event started. Thank you all for being here. Good afternoon and welcome to the fifth annual Titan Grad Slam. Thank you for joining us and supporting the students who entered this year's competition. Thank you so much to our competitors. This is a lot of work, obviously, and during this time of year, we know how much effort you have to put into this. So we appreciate your time and effort. We're very excited to hear more about your research. If you have your mics unmuted, please go ahead and mute yourselves. But we're very excited to get started and learn more about the students' research. I have had a sneak preview of the presentations, and so I promise you're all in for a treat this afternoon. So thank you all again for being here. My name is Amy Nelson. I'm the Executive Director of Graduate Studies here at Cal State Fullerton. Our team in Graduate Studies is very excited to host the event again this year. I'd like to welcome again all of our student contestants. Thank you again for sharing your research with us. I wish you all a lot of luck today. And I'm also honored to welcome this year's judges. So our first judge is Ryutaro Ichihara. Ryutaro was last year's CSUF Grad Slam winner, and he also received the CSUF Outstanding Graduate Student Award. Welcome back, Ryu. So excited to see you again. His phenomenological research on bodily perception and mind-body relationships in human movement was inspired by his brother with cerebral palsy. Hailing from Japan, he joined Cal State Fullerton in 2016 as a collegiate soccer athlete, earning a Master of Science and a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology with a philosophy minor. Selected for the Lemelson Research Center Fellowship Program, Ryutaro is preparing to translate his research into practical applications in Washington, D.C. Formerly a CSUF lecturer, he now serves as a performance analyst for the Fullerton College men's soccer team, fostering a winning mindset in their pursuit of a state championship, and as a personal trainer, guiding clients to achieve their ideal body and lifestyle through mental and physical training. Thank you so much for being here again, Ryutaro.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Our next judge is Dr. Volker Janssen. Dr. Janssen grew up in Germany and came to the US as a graduate student with a Fulbright scholarship in 1999. In 2005, he joined CSUF after earning his PhD in American history at UC San Diego. Since then, he has taught economic, environmental, constitutional, and military history, as well as the history of California. He specializes in the history of incarceration and is currently writing a new resource guide on Alcatraz Island for the National Park Service. He has served as his program's graduate advisor, supervised dozens of theses and projects, and currently directs ELEVAR, a Department of Education grant supporting graduate student success at Cal State Fullerton. Before his academic career, Dr. Janssen worked as a comedian, engineering project administrator, newspaper editor, and radio reporter. Very creative background. Thank you, Dr. Janssen, for being here.
Glad to be here.
And our final judge is Dr. Alexandra Terrones. Dr. Terrones is the Senior Program Coordinator for Cal State Fullerton's Graduate Studies Center. She joined the staff at CSUF from UCLA, where she received a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a master's degree and PhD in higher education. Dr. Terrones' prior experience in higher education includes positions in residential life and academic advising. Prior to coming to Cal State Fullerton, she was an instructor for UCLA's advising initiative called University Studies, where she led seminars for freshmen, transfers, first-generation college students, and students in the humanities and social sciences. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Terrones. And thank you to all of our judges for being here to judge this year's competition and for your dedication to supporting our graduate students. Next, I am very happy to introduce our MC for today's competition, Dr. Sarah Hill. Dr. Hill is the Director of Graduate Studies and Professor of Political Science here at Cal State Fullerton. Take it away, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Amy. And just as Amy was saying, welcome everyone. We are really excited to get to be here with you today. This is a great way for our students to highlight the research that they have worked so hard on during their graduate studies at Cal State Fullerton. We have very talented students on our campus, so prepare to be impressed by all of them, and I think also by the diversity of the research that you're going to see today. I'd like to thank our judges for taking the time out of their busy schedules to support this event. Your participation is a great example of paying it forward, and we really appreciate it. Thank you to the faculty, staff, administrators who've joined us today to support these students. Our faculty play a vital role in the development of our students in their research, and I know they're just as excited as we are to see our students share more about their work today. To our student competitors, we applaud you for entering into this competition. We know you have many responsibilities as grad students in addition to the many other hats you wear in your lives. And the research that you have chosen to focus on has the ability to positively influence your field of study and your communities. This is just one step on your journey. I encourage you to continue sharing your work and pushing the boundaries of your subject area for the better. You are and will always be Titans, so continue to reach higher and push others to do the same. And congratulations on your accomplishments so far. Before we begin the competition, I'd like to take a few minutes to cover the guidelines for today's competition. First, I'd like to remind everyone, including our competitors, to please go ahead and turn off your cameras and mute your microphones so that we don't distract the contestants during their presentations. Thank you. We really appreciate your help with that. Each of our participants is allowed to use one slide, to complement their presentation. Participants will be judged based on their ability to successfully engage a non-specialist audience while they communicate key ideas, key details about their research in 3 minutes or less. So students, when it's your turn to present, you may go ahead and turn on your camera and unmute your microphone. I'll introduce you and then you can begin your presentation. On your slide, we will have a timer going during your presentation. Please note that the timer will start with a 5-second countdown and then your 3 minutes will go. Then your 3 minutes will start. So give it 5 seconds to count down. It'll start, you'll hear a beep and it'll start, and then the 3 minutes for your presentation will begin. We'll also be keeping track of the time just in case there's a technical issue or something with the timer embedded in your slides. We'll be watching the 3 minutes as well. After each presentation, our judges will record their scores. During that time, I'll chat with the students to learn a little bit more about them and their research. Please note that that conversation after the 3-minute presentation has no influence on the scoring. Just those 3 minutes are what count toward the judges' scores. And finally, we know you would all like to cheer on your students. However, the chat will remain closed and we ask you to please be respectful to all of our participants and refrain from using any reactions during their presentations. You may use the reactions after a presentation is fully complete, and I know we'll all want to cheer for our wonderful students. So again, please keep your cameras and microphones muted and only react once the presentation is completely finished. After all of the students have presented, the judges will submit their scores and the winners will be announced. We will have a first place, second place, and third place winner. And the first and second place winners will go on to compete in the CSU Grad Slam event on May 9th. I'm sure our participants are anxious to get started, so we are going to go ahead and begin. Our first contestant is Oluwatosin Emmanuel Folowashile. Emmanuel is completing a Master of Arts degree in political science. Emmanuel is the Assistant Director of Academic and Institutional Effectiveness at the California University of Science and Medicine and an adjunct statistics professor at Oak Valley College in Rialto, California. His educational journey began in Nigeria, where he earned a national diploma in banking and finance and a diploma in software and hardware engineering. He also earned an AS in economics and political science from Vincennes University, a BS in economics from the University of Southern Indiana, and an MA in economics from California State University, Los Angeles. His research interests span education and health economics, political science, development, econometrics, and economic history. The title of his presentation is The Impact of Public Trust in Government on Political Voting, Shifting from Citizen Disengagement to Enhanced Voting Participation in the U.S. So, Emmanuel, would you please turn on your camera and microphone and say hello? We want to test and make sure we can hear you.
Hi.
Hi, great, we can hear you. Are you ready to get started?
Yes, one question. Did I have
Yes.
to show my slide here?
I will show your slide for you.
Yes.
So I'm going to show your slide and I'll start the timer. There will be the 5-second countdown and then your 3 minutes will start. Okay. And you'll see that on your slide. So we'll go ahead and start. All right. You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. 5-second countdown. Oops, I'm so sorry. 5-second countdown.
Good afternoon, everyone. Like they just introduced me to you, so I don't need to introduce myself. So thank you for being here. It's a great honor to be in part of this great, wonderful competition and a presentation. What's exciting about this, my research, is basically to my experience in the political landscape in the United States. And that's one of the reasons that I want to show the research to you to have a deep understanding what diversity really means to United States economy and the political and policy making landscape. So what's the first chart I want to introduce to us is basically to our objective, how social media, race, religion, economic status, agenda gap are contribute to United States election. First, I want you to look to the first chart, which is unemployed. And this data calculation based on the percentage of the United States population, which is 100%. So when you see unemployment, so that is 38.6% compared to 100% of the country population. And you have the standard deviation, you have the mean and mass. So the issue here is that we find out that unemployment are the one that don't have trust in the government. And we don't know the most of the reason that happen. And if you see the education, which is bachelor degree or more, we see that we have engagement of 69.8% of the people engaged. So that's to tell us that education is very, very significant in engaging with the political trust in our politicians. And also, if you see the 9th to 12th grade, not diploma, and you see that 36.1% in the mean standard. And that is very, very concerned that if somebody is not educated, that will be create no trust in the government. And what they don't know, basically to our research, is that the policy that they are making is also affecting them. So if you don't engage, you have a significant problem with the policy. So it's better you engage in those areas to have the impact that will benefit you in the long run. And if the second scatter plot that I have here, and our data is covered by 1964 to 2022. So if you see the bachelor degree upward and more, you see them from the 90%, you see how everybody is up there. And if you see unemployment, which is little blue and green, and you see not in the labor force, you see them in the bottom of that scatter plot. So that is a lot of concern that people does not engage in the political landscape or which cause them for not trust the government. And the third one that I have here, United States public trust in the government between 1964 to 2022. The same thing shows us a significant decline in those eras. If you see,
I'm so sorry, Manuel. For some reason, the timer stopped. I'm not sure what happened, but that was your 3 minutes. So
Oh,
the judges are going to go
okay.
ahead and enter scores for your 3 minutes sharing. And now you get the political scientist as the MC who's going to have some questions for you. So I'm wondering what got you interested in this? We know that trust in government has been decreasing over time, particularly in recent years. What got you interested in looking at this issue in American government?
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful question. And it's basically of the policy and the new generation, because if you don't trust in the government, what you are running away from now, in the next 10 years, the policy that they make today that you do not participate in will be the policy you will be fighting for in the long run. So those are the things that engage me and inspire me about this, that all citizens, whether you're councillor, local government chairman, you have to engage in the politics, because the policy they are make, even we see the example in our school there, the newspaper of this week, when they make a policy about a public issue and some people don't engage and they pass the policy, let us know they know that this policy is not working for us. So those are the things that we have to encourage, whether you're educated or you're not educated, to engage in the political landscape from your local area. So those are the things that inspire me to do the research, to let them know that the more you don't engage, it will be affecting you in the long run, not in the short run time. Thank you.
I'm so glad you're looking into this. You know, this is an issue that I care about, so I'm glad it's something that you're researching. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. We really appreciate it. And I think the judges are finished, so we are going to move on to the next contestants. All right. Our next contestant is Audrey Gunathilaka, and Audrey is completing a Master of Science degree in gerontology. Audrey is currently working at UC Irvine's Disability Services Center. She's passionate about supporting all individuals to achieve a fulfilling and balanced lifestyle. As an undergraduate at UC Merced, Audrey earned her BA in psychology and served as a research assistant in an experimental social and health psychology lab. At UC Merced, she also worked to support students through various leadership roles and served as a student consultant at their disability office. As a graduate student at Cal State Fullerton, Audrey has been a teaching assistant for multiple undergraduate psychology courses and has focused her research on creating sustainable intervention based on the biopsychosocial model for older adults and their family members. The title of Audrey's presentation is Caregiver's Compass: Navigating Burnout and Uncertainty. Audrey, would you please turn on your camera and microphone and say hello so we can make sure we can hear you?
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
We can. Thank you, Audrey. All right, are you ready to get started? We're gonna go over to your slide. You
Sounds
ready?
Yes,
All
perfect.
right, so 5-second countdown and then 3 minutes. Here we go. Oops, I'm so sorry. I don't know. Okay, here we go.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be speaking today, and thank you again so much for this opportunity. As I complete my master's in aging and work closely at UCI with students and families to navigate accommodations, I have tailored my research on building resilience and creating interventions that support well-being across the ages. So, to begin, everyone here is currently in the process of aging. Fingers crossed, we will all reach old age, which I am defining as 65 and older. Aging is an inevitable part of the human experience, but does not change how daunting and scary this experience can be for not only the individual themselves, but their surrounding loved ones. With the growing population of older adults in the United States, informal and unpaid caregiving has become an increasing responsibility for so many families across America. The number of older adults in the US has increased by 34% since 2012 and is expected to represent 22% of the entire US population by 2040. Although advancements in medication and technology has benefited the biological health of this older cohort, the social and psychological well-being of older people and their family members has truly stagnated. 8.6 million older adults live at or below the poverty line, a number that I believe is increasingly concerning when it's noted that over 17% of African American older adults and over 16% of Hispanic older adults are currently living in poverty. Due to cognitive decline and financial strain, over 66% of unpaid caregivers self-reported having at least one mental or behavioral concern. Now, I know this all seems daunting, and I do not want to scare any one of us here that are currently aging. However, this is the reality for so many older people and their families. Um, since our since informal caregivers experience so much strain, they often experience feelings of isolation, depression, suicidal thoughts, and overall burnout. However, I have found that a three-tiered intervention plan can mitigate those physical, emotional, and financial demands. So, to begin, a strong support system addresses caregiver isolation. A sense of community allows caregivers to delegate tasks, find financial support if needed, and overall find that emotional solace. Resilience is often a learned experience. However, that can be promoted by educating caregivers on tools on how to manage stress, building self-confidence in caregiver goals, and equipping caregivers with the tools needed to promote autonomy. Self-care is needed for caregivers to have a fulfilling life. So I hope that these interventions can help caregivers and their families experience biological, psychological, and social health that is sustainable and promotes that fulfilling lifestyle. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Audrey. We think we figured out what the issue is with the timer. So we're so sorry about that, but we think we have it for the future. But this was so interesting, and the judges are gonna go ahead and enter their scores. This is such an important issue with the aging population, and I know it affects a lot of our students personally. It's something that they think about. What would the support system look like that you have at the bottom of your triangle? How do we develop that for folks? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think support system can be such a broad word. That can look like family caregivers finding support in their siblings, in their children, in their parents. That can also look like overall community support. Oftentimes, especially right now, due to financial struggles, communities are so isolated. People are not able to, mingle within themselves and find that sense of support. But if we have a culture that promotes, integration of all ages, having that intergenerational bonds allows caregivers and older adults to find support not only within their families, but also in their overall communities. So yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. What an important, I'm really glad you're looking into such an important topic. We really need, we need to be thinking about this. It's so important. So thank you, Audrey. We really appreciate your participation. We are going to, I think the judges are finished, so we're going to go ahead and move on to our next contestant. Our next contestant is Sarah Holman de Bruin, and Sarah is completing a Master of Public Health with an emphasis in gerontological studies. With more than a decade of hands-on caregiving experience and a strong background in public service, Sarah brings a unique blend of lived experience and academic training to her work. Her interests center on aging, health equity, and the often overlooked area of sexual health later in life. She is passionate about breaking down stigma and challenging assumptions about aging populations, particularly around topics like autonomy, sexuality, and care. During her graduate internship at the California Department of Public Health, Sarah has contributed to key statewide initiatives, including syringe service programs, tribal community engagement, and internship program development to strengthen the public health workforce. After graduation, Sarah plans to continue working at the intersection of policy, aging, and systems change, advocating for more inclusive and responsive approaches to public health. The title of Sarah's presentation is "What is Age But a Number? Exploring Sexual Health Knowledge in Older Adults." Sarah, would you please turn on your camera and microphone and say hello?
Hello.
All right, great, we can hear you. Are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. I am going to mute myself, and then I'll go ahead and move your slide forward with the 5-second start. We think we figured out what the timer issue is, so we'll do that.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Holman de Bruin, and this topic is deeply personal to me. I've been a long-term caregiver for both of my parents, one of which has been living with HIV since I was 3 years old, diagnosed back in the early 90s when fear, stigma, and silence were overwhelming. Growing up, I saw firsthand how isolating it is when no one talks about sexual health, how people stop seeing you or treat you like your story doesn't matter, especially if you don't fit the mold of who's supposed to be at risk. That experience shaped everything I do now. It's why I chose to focus on older adults and sexual health, because let's be honest, people are still living and having sex later in life, but no one seems to want to talk about it. Most people are shocked to learn this, but STI, or sexually transmitted infection, rates in adults 65 and older have more than doubled in the past decade. Yet we rarely include them in crucial public health conversations, let alone STI prevention efforts. And here's what really struck me as I dug deeper. The CDC, or Center for Disease Control, the official STI guidelines are 180 pages, and they don't mention older adults, not even once. So if the CDC doesn't acknowledge this population, is it really surprising that providers and the rest of us aren't paying attention either? That invisibility has consequences. Because of this, I decided to survey 89 adults between the ages of 50 to 100 in Southern California. I used a validated STI knowledge questionnaire so my findings could build upon further research. I also added a few of my own questions, which brought the total to 33. Participants could then score up to 33 points based on how many they had correct. What I found was pretty eye-opening. The average score of STI knowledge was just 19 out of 33. 86% said their providers had never talked about STI testing with them, and 43% only had been tested in the last 2 years. Those within residential care, so think nursing homes, they scored lower than those living independently. Those who weren't sexually active and also held common misconceptions, like thinking that condoms are only used to prevent pregnancy, also had less knowledge. But there's some good news. People who were sexually active, didn't buy into those misconceptions, and who lived independently, they tended to know more. And these patterns we found were not random. They explain nearly 40% of the differences in STI knowledge across my sample. To me, that says one thing: we're not too late. There's opportunity here. We need to start showing up for this age group. That means training providers to ask those hard questions. It means changing attitudes, not just checklists. It means creating public health campaigns that actually cater and include older adults. And lastly, it means recognizing that sexual health doesn't just stop as we age, because growing older should not mean disappearing. Because really, what is age but a number? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was so interesting. The judges are going to go ahead and finalize their scores. I really appreciate that you shared how this is really personal for you and where your research questions came from. That framing is always helpful. What do you think, what does it look like to have a public health campaign to get this information out to older adults? How would we do that?
I think that's a very tricky question, especially within my research. Like, I found within the nursing homes that there was less knowledge. The tricky thing is that those people sometimes have cognitive disorders, and it's hard to get knowledge to people that can't remember, right? So I think it'll be crucial to do more research and try and figure out what tools work for people to learn at that age, because everybody learns differently, especially as our minds decline. Sometimes people learn by singing it or doing music therapy or seeing it visually. So I think we need more research, and I hope to continue this research just to see what does work and what doesn't work. So that'll probably be my next step, actually, is trying to figure out how I can implement change and see how knowledge can increase with the right implementation.
That's a piece of this I hadn't considered, thinking about what learning looks like for older adults. And that's wonderful. You're going to keep exploring what would be effective here. So thank you so much for sharing your really interesting research with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're so glad you participated. All right, we're gonna, our judges have finalized their scoring, so we're gonna move on to our next contestant. And our next contestant is Hawk McFadden. Hawk is completing a Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership with a concentration in Community College Leadership. Hawk is a research data specialist at the California Community College's Chancellor's Office, where they specialize in qualitative research. Hawk is a queer, non-binary autistic who applies an intersectional approach to research. Their research informs and is informed by their advocacy for all LGBTQIA+ community members in the community colleges and beyond. Hawk's presentation is titled Improving LGBTQIA+ Employees' Experiences Through Conversations with Community. Hawk, would you please turn on your camera and microphone and say hello?
Hello, and I changed the title.
Oh,
But
you did? Okay.
you'll see it on the next slide.
All right, it's all good. Well, good. We can hear you, Hawk. Are you ready to go?
I am.
Okay, great. I'm gonna mute myself and then I'll forward the slides with the 5-second countdown. All right, here we go.
Is it going to beep? Oh, there we go. The California community colleges do a lot to ensure students have the supports they need to succeed, but what about employees? It's hard to know where to begin as we don't even have meaningful data on employees. It's limited to the employee's role on campus, race, ethnicity, and gender. The system does not collect any sexual orientation or gender identity data on employees, and disability data is reflected only what employees are willing to disclose. But what would goals for employee success even look like? Beyond, say, classroom outcomes and productivity. The Vision 2030 master plan doesn't mention employees or queer and trans or QT people once. Can the system even envision us then? QT students are feeling political hostility right now from executive orders targeting diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts generally, and QT people specifically. They turn to QT employees for support, putting these employees at the front lines and supporting all students. Employees are already responsible for student identity development. Now they're also helping students process trauma and complex issues of gender and sexuality, which they may not be trained or compensated to do. These employees experience discrimination on the basis of gender and sexuality also, or heterosexism. On the conceptual model, you'll see that discrimination is compounded for employees whose identities are at the intersections of multiple marginalizations like race, ethnicity, and ability. But most community colleges don't even offer comprehensive, competent supports for QT employees. So let's understand what employees are looking at through a mixed methods approach. The quantitative data will be collected through the fear of heterosexism scale distributed to all system employees. Scale is validated to show that people with high scores have experienced heterosexist discrimination in the past 12 months. In addition to the 15-point scale, I'll collect demographic data to run ANOVA tests on demographics and the degree of outness or public disclosure of their identities at work. The qualitative portion will be an epistolary or letter writing exchange with the participants. I like a semi-structured interview format because it's flexible, asking broad questions that allow important topics to arise organically, but modified for letter writing. Questions will cover campus climate, disclosure of identities, and the toll of supporting students on employees. Participants will also submit audiovisual items like photos and playlists to illustrate their answers. And this extended, intimate exchange will provide context to the quantitative answers. The data will be mixed using an iterative or repeating cycle of analysis. Responses to the quantitative portion will inform the qualitative questions. Qualitative responses will identify quantitative variables to go back and test again. So I expect to find that employees with intersectional identities will score higher. The AV submissions will be powerful illustrations, and recommendations that emerge can improve supports for all employees. A rising tide lifts all ships, but only if the most vulnerable ships are prioritized. Employees doing uncompensated emotional work on the front lines need support, and I hope my research can support it.
That's great. Thank you so much, Hawk. I am so curious. Our judges are going to go ahead and finalize their scores. The letter exchange is such an interesting research approach. Can you tell us more about that? How you decided on that? I think that it's so creative and interesting.
Thanks. I fell in love with it. There's a couple researchers named Harris and Nicolazzo who are very prominent in the field. And they did a letter exchange with each other. And I really, from my experiences of writing letters with friends, and whenever I have that spare time, currently not now, of course, but it's just, it slows everybody down, allows you time to reflect. And trust building is really important for qualitative research. And I think having the extended time to reflect and really compose a proper response. They're also going to be co-analyzing their own responses and my responses to their responses. So this is going to be a very collaborative process. And I just think, who doesn't love getting a nice letter in the mail with a little teddy bear stamp on it?
I love that. I'm one of those people who I'm old-fashioned and I love writing letters too. But yeah, who has the time for it? But I think that's going to be Amazing. And I'm so curious to see what you find. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's
Thanks.
just
I'll be
really
back next year
creative.
to share my findings.
Yeah, I'm so curious to hear what you find. Thank you so much, Hawk. I think the judges have entered their scores, so we're going to move on to our next competitor, who is Sonal Mogra. Sonal is completing a Master of Science degree in computer engineering. Sonal serves as an ASI Graduate Student Government Ambassador, ECS Dean Scholar, and board member of Hindu Yuva, a campus multicultural organization. Sonal is also a dedicated volunteer, having supported Latinx and many other community events, newcomer buddy programs, and various commencement activities. Her passion lies in exploring the evolving world of AI and machine learning. She loves to play around with new tech, experiment with models, and bring creative ideas to life. She recently won first place at SCAR Day 2025. She has also developed innovative projects, including a RAG-based chatbot, real-time stock scrapping analysis, and AI-powered Wikipedia, blending her love for tech and interest in the business world. Sonal thrives in diverse, fast-paced environments and believes in using technology to solve meaningful, real-world problems. After graduation, she aims to pursue a career in AI ML engineering and continue pushing boundaries in the world of intelligent systems. The title of her presentation is Decoding the Language of Lines, Unraveling Fingerprint Details. Sonal, would you please turn on your camera and microphone and say hello?
Hello, everyone.
Great, we can hear you. Are you ready to get started?
Yep, I'm
Great. I'm gonna mute myself and then I'll forward the slide with the timer. All right,
Sure.
here we go.
Thank you. So hello everyone and good evening everyone. Like as Sarah introduced me, I'm Sonal Mogra, computer engineering student doing like masters in computer engineering from CSUF. And I'm so excited to present my research work that is a hybrid fingerprint recognition system. So let me start with a question that for which you already didn't even sign up for. Have you ever struggled to unlock your phone just because your fingerprint was wet or like wasn't enough or you didn't even place your finger on your phone in a right manner? So that's the problem I wanted to solve because the security is all we want everywhere. Fingerprint verification system are widely used in like forensic or like I can say the fingerprints in the phone or like everywhere due to their uniqueness and stability. However, traditional fingerprint still lacks noisy, low quality or the partial fingerprints, and that is very vulnerable to spoofing. That's where my projects come in, my research comes in. So that bridges the gap between the traditional and the AI model which I built just now. So let's talk about the hybrid architecture which I built. So I started with the Garber filter, then I introduced CNN, that is convolutional neural network, and then I implemented LLMs and then the RAG. So why I used Garber filter? Because which enhances the ridges and the valley textures. Can you see the small lining and the ridges like the curves on your fingers? Yeah, that is the ridges and the valleys, and that's where Garber filter works. And then comes the CNN, that is a part of deep learning AI that learns the spatial fingerprints features, I can say. And then comes the LLMs. Everyone is talking about ChatGPT. Everyone is talking about the Gen AI. Everyone is talking about the Meta AI. So that is where we have text, and here I have the images. Yep, ChatGPT uses text, I uses images, and that's where my LLM model comes in. And then I introduced the RAG, that was retrieval, augmentation, and generations to make a best match for the initial and the original fingerprints. So yeah, I used all these methods and the results speaks for themselves. That was the accuracy of 98.2%. Yeah, a significant improvement in precision, recall, and F1 score. What is precision? That is false positive. What is recall? That is false negative. And the F1 score is the combination of both precision and recall. So yeah, what did I solve? I improved accuracy, I enhanced security, and efficient pre-processing. So if I will talk about like what my next plan and what I would like to introduce next in my model. So as I already talked about the fingerprint, I would like to introduce like the faces and the iris so that I can call it a multi-model identifications verification system where people can't like tackle all these things. And thank you so much for the opportunity. And hopefully next time, whenever you will unlock your phone and won't be able to do it, you will think of an hybrid AI. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sonal. Our judges are going to go ahead and enter their scores, and in the meantime, we can chat. Thank you for working on this because, yes, this is one of my frustrations that I can't get my phone or iPad open. Are there other applications for this? Where else could you use this technology that you're working on, especially if you're able to add the face and iris to
Yeah,
the
we can
security
use it.
measures?
Yeah, we can use it everywhere. Like as you already mentioned that we are using in iPad, we are using in phone. So like whenever we go to defense system, we are going for like the government sector. So whenever you steps in, sometimes you need to give your fingerprint verification system. Like when I came from India, like biometric was the first thing where I gave for my passport and I got my visa. So that is the security we wanted. So from the government sector, from the forensics to the like the education and the phones, the devices, everywhere we want security, and the adversaries are the people who are taking advantage of it and like putting the bad chip on it and like making the wax fingerprint of our fingers and like getting our data within few minutes of seconds. So yeah, that's what I wanted to solve, because on the left hand side, if you will see, I have pasted a picture showing that it was a fake fingerprint. And this model where I use the AI with the AI RAG and the LLMs, so it was able to recognize the fake fingerprints, and like that's what we can like implement everywhere in the government sector and like in the technologies we have all around.
This is so important. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. It sounds like we're going to be seeing it in a lot of different places in the future. So thank you so much for participating today. Our judges have entered their scores, so we're going to go ahead and move on to our next competitor.
Thank you
Our
so
next
much.
competitor is Vraj Patel. Vraj is completing a Master of Science degree in computer science. Originally from India, Vraj began his research journey in Taiwan, where he served as a research assistant focusing on deep learning systems for medical signal analysis. He is a co-author of the paper ECG Anomaly Detection with LSTM Autoencoder for Heartbeat Analysis, which was presented at CES 2024 and supported by Taiwan's National Science and Technology Council. His current research explores how unsupervised machine learning can identify anomalies in ECG signals, helping detect irregular heart rhythms without labeled training data. His model achieved over 98% accuracy and outperformed several traditional approaches, showing strong potential for early diagnosis in real-time settings and resource-limited clinics. Beyond research, Viraj is passionate about open innovation and likes to participate in hackathons. He mentors peers in applied AI and has presented internationally. He also explores the intersection of Web3 and health tech in his free time. The title of his presentation is Detecting Heart Anomalies Using Unsupervised Machine Learning. Viraj, would you turn on your camera and microphone and say hello?
Hello, hello.
Hello, we can hear you. All right, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself and then I'll forward to the slide with the timer. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Raj Patel, a graduate student in computer science. And today I want to ask you something simple. What does a healthy heartbeat look like? I never really asked myself that until I started studying ones that were not. Each year, over 4 million people worldwide die suddenly from heart-related conditions. Sometimes in their sleep, sometimes in the waiting for care, often with no warnings. But here's the thing. Study shows up to half of those lives could be saved if we could just detect the danger in a few minutes earlier. That space between symptom and silence, that's the space my research is trying to fulfill. So we have all seen those ECG lines, the wavy lines that you use to track the heartbeat. They are everywhere, hospitals, ambulance, even smartwatches. But interpreting them take years of training and practices. And most ECG data don't come with labels. That so even the smartest AI models, the ones trained on examples, often get stuck in real life and real world settings. So we tried something different. Instead of showing AI what a heart disease looks like, we taught it just one thing, what a healthy heartbeat is, what a normal heartbeat rhythm should be. In my research, we trained a deep learning model using only normal ECG, no disease, no red flags, no labels. just clean, steady heartbeat rhythm. And as it learned, it developed a sense of what a normal heartbeat should look like. Then we gave it something unfamiliar, and it stumbled. It couldn't recreate the signal smoothly. It didn't know what it was saying. And that stumble, that's the clue. That's how we detect when something might be wrong. We tested this model on real world ECG data. Even without seeing any anomalies before, it correctly flagged them with over 98% accuracy. No labels, no diagnosis, and just AI recognizing when something's off. But for me, it's not just about the accuracy, it's about what this could mean, how it can impact the life of other people. Imagine a nurse in a rural clinic, or a smartwatch quietly monitoring your heartbeat at night, or a paramedic getting a 15-second head start before cardiac arrest strikes. This research won't replace doctors, but it can give them more time. And in medicine, time saves life. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Raj. This sounds so important, especially like you said, for areas that don't have as much access to medical care. What
Yes.
got you interested in looking at ECG data? It's so interesting.
Well, originally I was intended to work on EEG, which is to help people with disabilities to develop arms and legs for them, which are disabled by the birth. So they can just use the brain waves and use that for the arm movements. But and also I was looking for the heart related issues. And then I found a mentor, and then they asked me for the help in research, and then I went to this path. Yeah.
That's how research goes a lot of times, but it sounds like this could be applied to other areas of medicine as well, which is a really exciting idea that you could do a lot of different things with this to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, are there other areas of medicine where you'd like to explore how AI could be helpful?
As I said, I would like to explore the EEG where the people who are disabled from down the neck, just using the thoughts, they can have the screen that represents their thoughts or what they want to speak or something. Or even for the fully functional people, but who cannot speak.
Wow,
So
those are
yeah,
amazing
it would be
applications.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, keep us posted. This is really exciting
Yeah,
research.
sure.
Thank you so much for participating today.
You're welcome.
Our judges have entered their scores, so we're going to move on to our next competitor. Our next competitor is Amanda Sang. Amanda is completing a Master of Science degree in chemistry. Amanda completed her undergraduate degree in biochemistry at Cal State Fullerton. And in her undergraduate career, her research focused on developing a solid membrane to help produce hydrogen gas and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. She then transitioned to medicinal chemistry and joined the PESIC lab in developing a non-opioid therapeutic for chronic pain. After just 10 months working in her lab, Amanda already co-authored 2 published papers and has a few more papers coming out in the summer. She recently presented her work at ACS Spring 2025 in San Diego and CSU Biotech in Anaheim. At Cal State Fullerton, Amanda works as a supplemental instructional leader and teaching assistant and strives to improve students' understanding of chemistry. The title of her presentation is Design, Synthesize, and Evaluation of Dual Fatty Acid Amide Hydrolase Soluble Epoxide Hydrolase Inhibition for Pain Management. I'm trusting you're going to explain to us what that means. So, Amanda, could you turn on your camera and microphone and say hello? So
Hi.
Hi, great. We can hear you. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm going to mute myself and then I'll forward to the slide with the timer. So here we go.
Everyone has fallen down at some point and experienced pain. Usually that pain is temporary, but if that pain lasts longer than 3 months, that is defined as chronic pain. In 2023, the United States National Center of Health reported that 24.3% of adults have chronic pain. In addition, 8.5% of adults have high impact chronic pain, which means they are limited to their daily activities. There are current medication, and the most prescribed are opioids. But opioids, when they're used long term, could lead to adverse side effects such as addiction, tolerance, and death. According to the CDC State Unintentional Drug Overdose Reporting System, in 2023, 81.4% of overdose deaths involved at least one opioid. So currently, there's an unmet medical need to help treat chronic pain. So that's where my research comes in. My research goal is to develop a non-opioid therapeutic for chronic pain, and we target the endocannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system is responsible for sleep, learning, memory, and pain. In the right picture right here, if you zoom in into the human body, this is what kind of happens inside. So FA and SCH, fatty acid amide hydrolase, and soluble epoxy hydrolase, these are two enzymes inside of our body that help break down stuff in the human body. The green boxes represent pain relief, and the red boxes represent no pain relief. So what happens is that FA and SCH, they react with these green boxes to produce those red boxes. From there, you do not have any pain relief. But if we are able to develop a drug that can block FA and SCH at the same time, we can provide pain relief and therefore help treat chronic pain. So where are we in the drug development process? We're actually at the beginning stages. So we in the lab do drug design. So we make a bunch of drugs that will help hopefully block FA and SCH. And then from there, once we choose the best drug, we send it to our collaborators at Cal State East Bay, where they test our drug in rat models to see if the rats have any pain relief. Then, if the rat models have pain relief, then we can move on to human clinical studies, where they then can test our drug in humans to see if they have pain relief. If that goes well, then we can move on to FDA approval, and then our drug can be distributed to the general population and provide those pain relief, which we want to do. Again, my goal is to develop a non-opioid therapeutic for chronic pain. Thank you again for listening.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I had no idea that we had such a high rate of chronic pain in the United States. It's almost a quarter of the adult population is dealing with this. So it seems like this is really important to find a non-opioid pain relief. I am not familiar with this kind of research. How long does something like this take, like the clinical studies and everything, to actually potentially get a drug out there to help people? How long does that approval take, that approval process?
Thank you for the question. So drug development process actually could take up to 20 years. We already on this project spent like 5 years developing a drug, and we're kind of towards the end of it. So right now, we are doing a bunch of preclinical studies with rat models. So yeah, so we're still very far away from making a drug that can be inside the human body, but we're like hoping that soon, you know.
Yeah, thank you. This is an area that I don't know, and that's fascinating how long it can take. And I appreciate your persistence and working on something that is so important. And thank you for sharing with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, our judges have entered their scores, so we're going to move on to our next contestant. Christopher C.J. Van, and C.J. is completing a Master of Social Work with a concentration in community mental health. C.J. is committed to improving the lives of marginalized people, particularly through practice and research that promotes their resilience. His research interests center around mindfulness and its mental health benefits. His research goals are to expand etiological theories and to inform evidence-based prevention and interventions for those who are underserved. He is an awardee of the Engaging Students in Research Scholarly and Creative Activities Program, Orange County Behavioral Health MSW Stipend Training Program, and Graduate Equity Fellowship. He is a cohort representative and a mentor at CSUF's Master of Social Work Association, and also interns at Kaiser Permanente's Educational Outreach Program, where he provides counseling to children, adolescents, and adults. CJ previously worked in housing case management and mutual aid, organizing with unhoused neighbors and attaining permanent housing and empowering many more. His experience also includes orchestrating data-driven solutions for Fortune 500 companies. CJ plans to continue research in a PhD program within the next 2 years. The title of his presentation is Mindfulness as a Moderator of the Relationship Between Child Maltreatment and Mental Health Outcomes. CJ, would you turn on your camera and microphone and say hello?
Hi, and thank you for the
Hi.
warm introduction.
Sure, great. We can hear you. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself and then I'll forward the slide with the timer. So here we go.
We all love a good underdog story. You know, the one where there's a disadvantaged protagonist who dreams of a better life. The odds are against them, and yet they manage to make new meaning out of adversity and emerge as heroes. But what about the stories that we rarely get to hear? The ones that are seldom told due to stigma, despite their incredible tales of resilience. These are the types of stories that I'll be sharing with you today. Child maltreatment is defined as the emotional, physical, or sexual abuse or neglect of children under 18 years old. It comes with added risk of mental health issues in adulthood, yet a substantial number of those who've been maltreated emerge well-adjusted. So what makes the difference in these outcomes, and how can we promote resilience in victims? In responding to these questions, I was interested in understanding how mindfulness, defined as the active, non-judgmental awareness of the present moment, buffers the effects of child maltreatment and promotes resilience. Our team identified 303 maltreated and 151 non-maltreated adolescents and invited them to complete a series of psychometric surveys over the span of 7 years. I analyzed this data using a process that allowed me to sparse out the significance that mindfulness had, and not only improving the model's fit with the data, but also improving its ability to predict anxiety and aggression. What I found can be considered a best-case scenario. These graphs show that as mindfulness increase, levels of anxiety and aggression decrease. In graphs 1 and 2, mindfulness benefited abused adolescents at roughly 2 times the rates that it benefited non-abused adolescents. At high mindfulness levels, emotionally abused adolescents actually had lower anxiety and sexually abused adolescents had lower aggression when they were both compared to those who had never been abused at all. In graph number 3, it may look like mindfulness is benefiting the non-abused group more than the abused group. But when we dug deeper, we found that this was applying only to the females, and it was only applying for one specific item in the anxiety measure, which was the phrase, "I keep my eyes open for danger." In a society where adolescent females have marginal physical safety, we actually interpret this as being a healthy and adaptive form of vigilance, rather than a maladaptive and more neurotic form of anxiety. So across the board, in all of these cases, mindfulness engaged with that history of maltreatment and changed its impact from negative to positive. These findings suggest that mindfulness is beneficial for mental health and that these benefits are even more pronounced for maltreated adolescents than they are for non-maltreated adolescents. They have strong clinical implications for treating an underserved population, and they open new opportunities for future research to expand our knowledge of mindfulness's healing potential. Thank you.
Thank you so much, CJ. The judges are going to enter their scores. And thank you for sharing this really important research with us. It's encouraging to see that you've found something that can be so helpful to adolescents. What would mindfulness look like for them, and how would you teach mindfulness to this population?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So mindfulness is so interesting because it's an amenable protective factor, meaning it's something we can change. Not only is it like a characteristic, a trait, but it's a practice, right? So you can practice it through things like meditating, for example, or doing mindful exercises like yoga. And the more you practice it, the more it becomes part of your disposition or just the way that you kind of interact with the world.
Wow, that's so great. And I'm just very encouraged to hear that you found something that can be so helpful. So thank you for sharing your really important research with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and we have one more contestant. Our final contestant is Ainsley Rivera. Ainsley is completing a Master of Arts in Sociology. Ainsley's research interests include globalization, political economy, and labor. Her master's thesis focuses on the forced state displacement of the indigenous Maasai community of northern Tanzania. Her research explores the Maasai people's experiences of displacement in the social and economic context of the Tanzanian government's land grabs for conservation and big game reserves. This qualitative study considers how state land conservation initiatives reflect prior colonial power relations evidenced in previous research on indigenous forced displacement. The title of her presentation is National Park Initiatives and Big Game Reserves for Who's Good? Ainsley, would you please turn on your camera and microphone and say hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear
Okay,
you. Are
perfect,
you ready to go?
Yes, I am ready to go.
Great.
Excited.
Wonderful. I'm going to mute myself and then I'll forward to your slide with the timer. So here we go.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for all being here. Like mentioned, my name is Ainsley Rivera. I'm a student in the sociology department. I'll begin my presentation. National Park Initiatives and Big Game Reserves for Who's Good? Indigenous Maasai Displacement in the Ngorongoro District of North Tanzania. So my study began with the Study Abroad Fellowship opportunity in December 2023. I made some Maasai friends. They're indigenous to northern Tanzania and southern Kenya. So that's Eastern Africa, or Tanzania in the south, Kenyans in the north. So one of my friends actually messaged me. He said, we need the world to know what is happening in Tanzania regarding the Maasai areas, apart from the land which was already taken in 2022 in Loliongo villages. The government is now planning to take very big grazing lands from the Ngorongoro districts and other Maasai districts to upgrade to big game reserves. So Maasai historically have been moving their land due to conservation initiatives and big game reserves, beginning in the Serengeti National Park and today now within the Ngorongoro National Parks. So the dominant narrative regarding the land is led by the Tanzanian government. So land grabbing is justified and told by the Tanzanian government as a national park initiative. It's good for the environment as it promotes conservation. So after all, when we think of conservation, we think good. So the country presents this idea globally. Even global organizations, they approve of these national park expansion because of this narrative. But we don't see any reparations or communication with the Maasai throughout this process. Instead, they are seen as contributors to the environmental issues despite living amongst the wildlife for hundreds of years. So why is it important to research the Maasai experience? Like I mentioned, the dominant narrative overlooks the on-the-ground reality of the Maasai and their relationship with their land. So I pose the question, what are the meanings and interpretations of forced displacement among the Maasai in Tanzania? The study includes 12 interviews of Maasai from the Ngorongoro district, all whom experienced large displacement of 2022. The questions asked surrounded how their life compared to that of years prior, the 2022 confrontation, and what they wish to happen. The importance of this methodology ties to the importance of this research. We want a non-Western, non-state, Maasai-centered interpretation of displacement. We essentially want to see the Maasai story and their experiences. So here are a few preliminary findings. One, distrust of government, quote, so we feel like our government really doesn't like the Maasai, and they're just trying to use false statements to perceive falsely or negatively from the Maasai's side. Two, unequal state Maasai dynamics. So before grabbing, we have tried to negotiate with the government, but they don't accept our ideas and they invaded us. Quote, three, Maasai historical and ongoing resistance. So the historical context is really important here, and people mention that. So quote, it was started in by the Germans at the Serengeti National Park and they were displaced. And so that's how it started. So as mentioned, the study is important because it brings a new narrative. And in academia, it provides an opportunity to refine and explore academic works on state indigenous displacement while at the same time centering on Maasai experiences. So thank you everyone who tuned in, and I congratulate everyone who has presented. Best of luck.
Great. Thank you so much, Ainsley. That concludes our student presentation. So the judges are going to be finalizing their scores, but I can ask Ainsley a quick question here. I was wondering exactly what you said. How did you get interested in the Maasai? I mean, this is such a fascinating topic, and you shared it was on your study abroad. So then my next question is, how have you been able to engage in this research and find Maasai to interview?
So actually, I'm a student organizer. So this nonprofit I remain in contact with people because they told me about their struggles. And I remain in contact because I was raising money to send to the Maasai because amongst their issues, they get their cattle seized by the government because the cattle, they graze. They don't know what national parks are. They just go. So I've been raising money as an organizer. And my friend, he actually asked if I can, I was hesitant, but he asked if I can be the one, if I can do research on this issue. So pretty much my relationship to this research has to do with organizing. Actually, coincidentally, I'm in Cuba right now for like a labor thing. So this is something that I really tie my, I synthesize my organizing in academia. So yeah.
Thank you so much. This is clearly very important work, and I'm so glad you're looking at this and then sharing what you're finding.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for participating.
Thank you so much.
So we do, our judges do need a few minutes to confer to decide who our winners are today. So we're going to give them a few minutes to do that. As they do that, I want to be sure, and can we give a round of applause to all of our wonderful contestants today? They did such a great job, and I am so impressed by the diversity and also the importance of the work that they're doing. They connected their work to current events, current issues, and I love the research that our graduate students get to do at Cal State Fullerton. So it's really exciting to hear. While our judges confer, I do have a few announcements for you. So one is, while we're waiting for the judges, our top two winners from today will be invited to advance to the CSU statewide Grad Slam competition. This year, that is hosted by Cal State Bernardino. It will be online. And so we're going to send more details about this event as we receive it, but we hope you'll consider attending and cheering for our students. The link will be on our website, and let me see if I can put the link in the chat also, but we'll send this information out to everyone. Put the link for that. So that's the link to the Cal State San Bernardino Grad Slam, which will be in May and May 9th. And so we hope you'll consider attending, and we'll get that information out. Then, big news for next year's Grad Slam, we're hosting it. So next year we are hosting the CSU statewide Grad Slam. It's the 6th annual event hosted by Cal State Fullerton. We signed up for it a while ago thinking, oh, 2026, it's several years away. Well, it's going to be here. So the date is to be announced, but it's usually early May. And so it's a Friday in May. So stay tuned for next year's statewide event, which we will be hosting on Zoom, and watch our Grad Slam website for updated information. So that's going to be really exciting.
Sarah, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. This is Amy. Are you able to put me in the breakout room? I think I am not able to put myself in as host.
So sorry. Let me see if I can.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I am not able to.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to close the room then and bring them back in. Maybe you have to put us in the breakout room.
Okay. Okay.
So sorry.
No, it's okay. Let me help with that really quickly here. Give us just a second. Okay. While we're waiting for that, we do want to make sure that you know about our wonderful Graduate Studies Center in case you're not aware. This is our campus space just for graduate students. It's located in the library very centrally. It's PLN 121 on the first floor. It's open after 5 p.m. 4 days a week. It's a great place for graduate students to hang out, take a break, study, do some work. We also offer appointments for writing consultants. There's food. You can keep food there. We have a private study space, and we also host several events throughout the year. One of the best ways to make sure you're finding out about our events is to follow us on Instagram. So please go ahead and do that. And let me see if I can get folks
Thank you so much.
Sure. I'm so sorry, Amy. It is not letting me.
It's not okay. Let me see if I can do this again. Sorry, everyone.
Let me try something.
I don't think I can select myself. I don't see myself on the list.
Yeah, I don't have access to you either to put you in the breakout room. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. Let me see if I can change you over as host.
Do you see the rooms though, Amy?
I do.
You can select a room and it should put you in there.
Oh, thank you. Okay, let me try that. Let's see. Thank you, Sean. Let me try this. Okay, I'm putting our judges in a room.
And then you should be able to join it. Yeah. There's a blue button to the right that says join. If you look at the breakout rooms.
Thank you. I see it. Okay, thank you. We'll be back.
Sure. Okay, so our judges are making a very difficult decision. I do not envy them. I actually served as a judge for this competition recently at the Western Association of Graduate Schools, and it was a really hard job because our graduate students are so wonderful and interesting and doing such a variety of research. So they do not have an easy task ahead of them. Okay. Okay, so I think we're going to just pause for a few minutes and wait to hear what our judges have to say. So this is that moment where I'm supposed to be filling time. Do I have anything else? I think that's what I've got. Are any of our competitors graduating soon, either spring or summer?
Yeah, hello Sarah. This is Sonal. I'm graduating in May 2025.
Wonderful. What's next for you?
I'm looking my career in AI/ML as I already mentioned over there. So yeah, I'm like regularly applying for the jobs and looking for the new opportunity, whichever will come into my way.
Wonderful. Good luck with that. We are cheering for you. And with your experience in research, I think you are well set up for success. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Thank you. Nice meeting you all actually. I'm so
Yes.
glad that I'm a part of it.
Yes, we're very glad you're here.
And
Anyone-
next year that at CSUF is hosting this, like, is this for the recent student only, or like, can I be a part of it? Like, if I'm doing something research activity
You have
along.
to be a current student.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you. No
Yeah,
worries.
good
Thank you so
question.
much.
Yeah, participants do need to be current students. That's a very good question. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anyone else graduating soon and want to tell us about their upcoming plans?
I'm graduating soon. I'm graduating May as well.
Yay.
I am actively looking for a job.
Yes.
In public health, it's getting increasingly difficult with everything going on in the world. So just trying to stay very positive. I also, like I mentioned in my presentation, I am a full-time caregiver to both my parents. And I also do my internship at CDPH. So I have a job as of right now, but I'm looking to establishing a career path and getting those wonderful benefits that we all dream about. So that's my next step.
We are cheering for you. And
Thank you.
yeah, it is it's frustrating to see what's happened to public health, especially after the pandemic, which you think would have encouraged investing in public health.
Yeah.
Seems to have somewhat of the opposite effect. And so thank you for the work you're doing. It's really important, and hang in there. I tell our students persistence is the key, and eventually you find the right spot, but I know it can be tough, but
Yes.
it's going to be out there for you. Yeah.
Thank you for saying us. Public health officials really don't get the thanks I think they deserve. I think everybody says that about their field, but I feel like we're the invisible shield. Nobody sees us, but once we're gone, everybody feels it. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate those words, and thank you for letting me be a part.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Our public health folks, we do not understand how much we owe to them. Absolutely. And yeah, the decrease in funding for public health is only, then we'll understand how much we need you. So yeah, yeah. My students, I teach in our public administration program, and they're facing similar issues of they work in the public sector, and there are a lot of challenges there right now. So stay persistent because we need good people just like our students who are out there and willing to serve the greater good. And we really appreciate it very much. Yeah. Our judges are still talking. It's that close. It's that close. This is a really hard decision. So this is why they are still chatting. Anyone else, even if you're not graduating this spring or summer, you want to tell us about your future plans, what you would like to do once you graduate?
Well, I'm graduate this May.
You are. Oh, great. What's
Yes.
next for you, Emmanuel?
I'll continue what I'm doing, and maybe if I see the opportunity of sponsor of a PhD, I might go for it. So
Yeah.
just keeping
You love
working.
learning. I know.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I know Emmanuel loves learning. Yeah, that's wonderful. And Ainsley, I see you have your hand raised. How about you? Oh, I think you might be muted, Ainsley, if you're trying to talk.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm set to graduate in the fall. I actually got into some of my top programs, and I just deferred for the next year. And yeah, in Tennessee, so most of Tennessee. Like I mentioned, my main research interest is globalization and political economy, and they have a really good department there. And this summer, I'm going to be doing research with the Sally Casanova Fellowship, hoping to
Wonderful.
publish. Yeah.
Yeah, Sally Casanova is a wonderful program. That's really exciting that you're going to be part of it. Yeah. Okay, it looks like our judges might be coming back. All right, we have our results, and as you can tell, this was really tough. So, to all of our competitors, we really appreciate you, and you did a wonderful job today. But let's go ahead and announce who our winners are. Third place goes to CJ Van. Congratulations, CJ. Is CJ here?
Yes, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
congratulations. Well done, CJ.
Thank you.
All right. Second place goes to Sarah Holman de Bruin. Sarah, congratulations. Good job.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well done. And then our first place winner is Amanda Sang. Congratulations, Amanda.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Wonderful job, everybody. So thank you all for joining this event and supporting our students. We really appreciate it. This was a wonderful showcase of our student research and the diversity of our research. I love the variety of wonderful things that our students are doing. Thank you especially to our judges for your time and thoughtfulness today. They had really hard decisions to make, and we appreciate it. And then congratulations again to our winners and to all of our student contestants.
Can I say something?
Oh, Volker,
I'm
yes.
so sorry. I'm not going
Professor
to reveal
Jensen,
anything
please.
about the judging process. I just wanted to say it was so difficult. And apart from assessing the quality of presentations, man, the merit of your projects, the value and the sort of the purpose that you have, that's amazing. So I would just want to make sure that I don't want anyone to walk away thinking we lost the competition, because man, was this good stuff. And I would dare any of my colleagues to do that presentation on their work. I will tell you they would fare worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor Jensen. I totally agree. The value of the work our students are doing, it's just amazing. And that's, I think, what's going to stand out to me the most from today. Your work is impressive, so please keep doing your amazing research. It will matter. It does matter to our communities and the spaces that you serve. We really appreciate and value you and your contributions. So thank you, congratulations, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Great work, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.